please stand for a Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing for our prayer and moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's customary in this chamber that we stand for a moment to remember those who are protecting our freedoms both here and abroad, for our first responders, and for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. A moment of silence, please. Our prayer, Mr. Pasquitti.
Dear Lord, bless thy servants in the ministry of public affairs who serve thee in this chamber. Give us quiet minds and hearts that we may hear your voice. Help us to know when to speak, when to be silent. Give us strength to oppose the wrong and uphold the right, and grant that we have a good conscience and soul at peace with thee and with one another. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated.
This meeting is being held in conformance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice has been given to the newspaper, and notice of the meeting has been posted in public places. Next open public meeting of the council will be held on Monday, October 19th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. Ms. Brown? Absent. Mr. DePalma?
Here.
Dr. Greenberg-Belly?
Present.
Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pasquitti?
Present.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Here.
Ms. Walker?
Here.
President Sohor?
Here. 8
President
present.
Rizzi, present.
Okay. First, we'll do approval of minutes, combined meeting, July 20th, 2020.
Move it.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Walker, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Ms. Brown? Absent. Mr. DePalma?
Here. Yes.
Dr. Greenberg-Belly? Yes. Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Pasquitti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohor?
Yes.
President, we have 8.
Next will be our bill listing. Mrs. Walker.
Accounts payable, October 5th, 2020, $2,006,122.28.
Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Okay. Moved by Dr. Greenberg-Belli, second by Mr. Pasquetti.
Ms. Brown is absent. Mr. DePalma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg-Belli?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy? Mr. Pasquetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohor?
Yes.
President, we have 8 ayes.
Payroll, September 25th, 2020, $820,641.45.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Pasquetti, second by Dr. Greenberg-Belli. Or is it Mr. Murphy? You two sound alike.
Ms. Brown is absent. Mr. DePalma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg-Belli?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pasquetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohor?
Yes.
We have 8 ayes, President.
Payroll overtime, September 25th, 2020, $52,608.82.
Do I have a motion? Moved by Mr. Murphy, second by Mr. Pasquetti.
Ms. Brown is absent. Mr. DePalma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg-Belli?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy? Mr. Pasquetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohor?
Yes.
President, we have 8 ayes.
We have a breakdown, Mr. Shaw?
Yes, Council President. Thank you. As Councilwoman Walker indicated, the total overtime for this pay period was $52,608.82. There was a slight uptick in the Public Works, Buildings and Grounds related to installation of camera at the municipal complex outside to monitor the mail-in box, ballot box. It's under video surveillance now. In Police Department, the total overtime per sworn officer was $43,175.28. Deduct grants for $7,133.35. Deduct ETO, $5,406.94. Net overtime in the police department was $30,634.99, representing 557 man and women hours. During this pay period in police department, the pandemic-related overtime was $1,349.44. Special event, 9/11 ceremony. One officer was injured on duty. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Shaw.
Yeah.
Unless I misunderstood, you said the voting box is now under surveillance? It hasn't been all along?
No, it has been. During this pay period, it was.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay, Murphy?
Move it.
Didn't we vote already?
It's fine.
Okay, and that concludes the bill list.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Walker. Next will be public hearing and ordinances for second reading. Person-to-person liquor license transfer. Liquor license number 1209-33-032-005. Bryad Restaurant Group LLC, trading as TGI Fridays to TGI Fridays. Okay.
We have Siobhan Beer on the call if there's any questions from council regarding the transfer.
Okay.
Good evening, council. Yes, this is Siobhan Beer from the law firm of Post Pollock for the applicant TGI Fridays, Inc.
Okay, thank you very much for being here this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, does
From the convenience of my home, too. I appreciate that.
Okay, very good. Does anyone from the council have any questions on this transfer? No? Okay, seeing no hands, we will open it to the public now for the public to comment on if they choose to. You will see on your screen, there will be a way to call us in and to ask any questions you may have about this transfer. So if you are interested, now is the time to please call in about this. Thank you.
The Zoom information is included in the infographic. The call-in number is 929-205-6099, and our Zoom ID is 878-5357-1997. If you're in the call, you can press *9 from your phone, Option Y or Alt Y from your Mac or PC, or choose the option for raise hand to raise your hand to make a public comment during this time. President, there's no other additions or raised hands at this time.
Has it been the amount of time? Okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah. No worries. Anyone out there wishing to call, now is the time to please call in. Thank you. Okay, seeing that no one has called in, I will close the public portion and now ask for a motion.
Move it.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mr. DePalma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Priscetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
President Zohor?
Yes.
President, we have 8 ayes.
Okay, and thank you for being here this evening with us. We appreciate it.
Council President, I just want to alert to the council and the viewers that tonight we had a trouble with the YouTube broadcasting on the live on YouTube, so we switched to the Facebook. So currently, our
Okay.
meetings are broadcast live on a Facebook.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Anyone else? You're good, Mr. Shaw? good? You told the attorney we're good, right? We can, okay. She's done? All right, very good. Okay. Next will be preliminary public comments to council, subject to the following conditions and restrictions. During the preliminary public portion of the meeting, any person may address the Township Council on any subject matters for a maximum period of 5 minutes. Comments during the preliminary public comment portion of the meeting shall not encompass second reading ordinances or any other matter for which comment to a public hearing is to occur at the meeting. Once again, you will see on your screen the instructions to call in, and this would be the time for public comment.
Again, I'll repeat the information on how to raise your hand in Zoom. Once you've called in to the number on your infographic, you can press *9 from your phone, press Option Y or Alt Y from your Mac or PC, or click the raise hand button in your apps. We'll give a few minutes for that, but in the meantime, we did have written comment submitted by residents that I'll read for the council as submitted.
Thank you so much.
Just again, why this is occurring is that recently the state, well, recently as recent as Friday, they issued new regulations that there'll be a public hearing on dealing with when you actually have a remote meeting or a hybrid remote meeting. And one of the items that they included in the regulations that have been proposed for adoption is that in addition to individuals calling in remotely, that municipalities are required to have a provision allowing the public to email comments as well. So that was included in the new notice that Gabriella had issued on Friday. So these comments were sent to the clerk, and because of the regulations, they're required to be read into the record. One thing I will do note is that to the extent that the email were sent by individuals and they're going to, they're watching the meeting or intend to comment on it, they won't be permitted to comment on the same item that they sent an email on, since we're already receiving their comment.
Thank you very much.
So the first comment received is from Josh Goldberg, resident of Glenwood Apartments. Mr. Goldberg wrote, I am writing regarding a proposed resolution purportedly condemning Governor Murphy's executive order mandating all vote by mail for general election, which denied American citizens their right to vote in person. In fact, no such executive order exists. I believe the council members who put forth and support such a resolution are purposely spreading a false message to stoke confusion in the voters and stir up anti-government sentiment among the population. While it is true that the administration is trying to encourage people to choose to vote by mail by, among other things, automatically providing a mail-in ballot to all registered active voters in the state, voting by mail is not mandatory. Oh, sorry. To all active registered voters in the state, voting by mail is not mandatory, nor will those that choose to vote in person be denied that option. While the executive order some on the Old Bridge Town Council seek to condemn doesn't actually exist, I direct your attention to an executive order that Governor Murphy actually has issued, Executive Order Number 177, signed and taking effect on August 14th of this year. Executive Order Number 177, while yes, seeking to encourage voters to choose to vote by mail, also orders and directs each county to open a minimum of at least one polling place in each municipality, and that each county shall open a minimum of 50% of its regularly used polling places. This order preserves the option to vote in person if the voter so chooses in every municipality in the state. Some members of the Old Bridge Town Council seem to have an almost reflexive response to oppose whatever a Democratic official says or does. That is their right. They also have the right to express their opposition and then express it in the strongest terms possible. They also have the right to enthusiastically advocate and work for the changes they want to see. That being said, inventing executive orders that don't exist so they can rail against them, or conveniently ignoring the context of real executive orders that don't jive with their invented narrative, well, to me, that's more akin to falsely yelling fire in a crowded theater. No good can come of it. Personally, I applaud Governor Murphy's efforts and join his administration in encouraging people to choose to vote by mail option. I consider it the safest option during this pandemic.
Thank you very much.
This time I'll read the other comment submitted by writing. This comment was submitted by Nina Joknowitz, an OB resident. It states, "Council, I am tired of you repeatedly lying to the public regarding elections and voting. Every person in New Jersey who is registered to vote has 3 possible ways to vote. Most people will have 2, and both include paper ballots. The third option is only for disabled persons. I am writing this email so the clerk can read this into the public record and to the council. My thoughts are perhaps if someone recently hired by the Henry administration properly enunciates the methods to exercise your rights to vote, the council persons will stop the baloney and allow the local clerks and county officials to complete their jobs with little headaches created by selective council members of Old Bridge. That said, New Jersey has 3 ways a person who is registered to vote. The first is by far the easiest, a mail-in ballot. All registered voters should already have received their ballot in the mail. If you have not yet received the ballot, please contact the new Old Bridge clerk for instructions to complete the mail-in ballot. Besides, fill in the choices for elected office and complete the back for the BOE candidates and all questions, including the legalization of marijuana. Please complete the form properly. Follow the instructions. It needs the voter's signature and the ballot envelope sealed. Please sign and complete the form. It is your opportunity to vote without taking time in lines and without any wasted day from work. This ballot can be dropped off at several secured locations in all post offices to be returned to the county to collate and add your votes. It can also be dropped off on election day and in person at the voting places in town. The second way to vote is to vote in person using a provisional ballot at several locations in town on election day. On that day, you will wait to cash a provisional ballot, or if you are disabled, there is an accommodation to vote by machine. The third way to vote is provided to those who are disabled. For those disabled, the county worker will direct you to the line to vote by machine. Here you will be asked for your name to verify you are on the list of self-identified disabled persons. At this point, the poll worker is required to call the County Board of Elections to verify you are a registered voter if not on the list, or have not yet cast your vote if on the list. There will be a wait to complete your vote using the machine, and there is an expected wait time of 30 minutes to get your verification of your status. Thereafter, with all things verified, you will be allowed to vote by machine. If it cannot be verified, you can still vote by provisional ballot. Finally, back to the council who are trying to complain about the voters' access to vote. New Jersey is one of the few states which quickly created a vote by mail for all, and this until COVID crisis is over. We all know COVID is real and killing people. This accommodation written by Governor Murphy and his team is to make sure voters have their constitutional right to vote. Just like the forefathers in our American history who completed ballots by hand, and these ballots were counted by hand, we will do the same, vote by paper ballots and counts by hand. Back in the days of Lincoln in the 1860s, women and people of color did not have the right to vote. So here in New Jersey, we are making sure that every person has the right to vote. We in New Jersey support the 15th Amendment from 1868, which granted black men the right to vote under the law. We in New Jersey support the 19th Amendment, 1920, which granted women the right to vote under the law. We in New Jersey support the 26th Amendment, 1971, which granted any citizen who has 18 years of age or older to vote. We in New Jersey support the 24th Amendment, 1964, which did away with the poll tax for the rights to vote. We in New Jersey support the 26th Amendment, 1971, which granted any citizen who was 18 years of age or older to vote. Finally, just to remind the council, in Lincoln's time, ballots were paper ballots. There were no machines, and to remind the women in council, we did not have the right to vote back in Lincoln's days. We were granted the right to vote just 100 years ago. We in New Jersey and all over the United States are working to use the most accurate and verifiable method to count every vote submitted by registered persons. And that is the complete statements of those submitted
Prior to the
by
meeting.
written.
Okay, thank you so much. And now, are there anyone out there in the public waiting to speak on the phones?
At this time, nobody has raised their hand to indicate that they, oh, I'm sorry, we do have someone who just raised
Okay.
their hands.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Stephen?
Yes, hi, Steve Gowen from Giordano. So I actually have a comment on an item that's on the agenda towards the end. It's the request for the waiver of the fee. I don't know if you want to hear comment on that now or if you want to wait till the public comment portion before that item. So either way.
That's a discussion item to be addressed later. This is not, I don't believe the time for that right now.
Well, if I could,
Oh.
so the council represents the individual who made the request. So I indicated.
Correct.
I indicated that there is no provision in our ordinance for a public hearing for this request. It's simply something that they had submitted, but because they're public, they have the ability to comment or speak during a public comment portion. it may be better that, I don't know if you want to, he can do it now, or since he's on the line, rather than wait till the end, it's up to council.
I don't see a problem with that.
It's the discussion item would be, it's the one discussion item, it's D1, Mr. Merwin,
D1.
requesting a waiver of application fees and escrow fees. It's,
You want to just make my point, I'll just make my point now, or you want to wait until you're at that item?
it's up to you.
It's up to you. But now it's fine. That's, you're
Okay.
here and you're on. Just give me.
Yeah, why don't I do it now, and then I'll sit back and listen for when you get to it. That'll be fine.
Okay. And in the meantime, could you just give your name and all for the record so she has a record of everything?
Sure. So name is Steve, last name is Goin, Gouin, and I'm from the law firm of Giordano, Halloran, and Ciesla. I represent Oak Tree Plaza at Old Bridge LLC. So the council has a little bit of background. So my client obtained use variance approval, and also at this point, we've obtained preliminary and final site plan approval from the Old Bridge Township Zoning Board of Adjustment. And this is for a mixed-use project along Route 34 in Old Bridge. It's a 36 luxury apartment project, and there are 2 retail buildings proposed to be constructed along Route 34. One of the conditions of the approval, the approval for final site plan, is that has to do with the timing of when we will build the retail buildings. And what we've done is submitted a request to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, basically asking for relief from that condition due to, obviously, the circumstances that we're dealing with right now with COVID-19 and, the impacts that has had to the retail market. So we've asked to modify that condition. The Zoning Board of Adjustment made us submit a full amended site plan application, and we asked for a waiver from the board for the application fee and the escrow. The application fee was $12,726.50, and the escrow was $20,750. So obviously my client's intention is not to not fund the escrow. Certainly, to the extent that the township is incurring costs in reviewing the application, he would pay those costs. But depositing an additional $33,476.50 for what amounts to a request for a modification of a condition of approval, we felt was a little steep, particularly, in light of the request and in light of the circumstances. Obviously, if it was a perfect scenario, we wouldn't have to make this request, but we're in the situation that we're in. And the idea of building a retail building in the timeline that we agreed to build it just doesn't make sense right now. So we asked the zoning board for a waiver of that condition. They directed us to the council, and so we submitted a request to the council, and so here we are. So we're asking that you take a look at our letter, take a look at our request. Even if you don't decide to grant the relief, let us know what we might be able to do about it. It's just, paying $33,000 plus for a relief from a condition of approval seems to us to be steep. So that's our ask. I appreciate the council hearing us out, and look forward to your discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anyone that's waiting online to speak?
No, there's nobody else in line to speak right now. Yes, you're good to go.
Okay. There's no one else waiting to speak, so we will close now the public portion. Okay, next we'll go to council member comments. And you call them out alphabetically.
Ms. Brown is absent. Mr. DePalma?
Yes, thank you. So as we heard from some of the residents about the voting, I won't go into it, but with the election coming up on November 3rd, if folks do wish to register to vote, you have up until October 13th to register to vote. Voting, as was stated earlier, can be done in a number of ways. fill out your ballot that you received in the mail, bring it to the township, to the secure lockbox that we have in front of the municipal building. You could send it by mail, you could bring it to the polling site, or you could vote by provisional ballot on the day of election. There will be no voting by machine unless you have a disability. So I actually have been speaking to a number of folks that are a little confused about that. So just to make sure that folks understand that this year's election will be by that ballot you received, whether it's voting by mail, voting provisional, or if you're voting, putting the ballots inside the secured lockbox. Couple other things. So today's World Teachers Day, and I think with all of the remote learning going on, all parents, and me included, I sit next to my daughter every single day, listen to her teacher deal with the confusion that is happening. Please cut them some slack. They are doing a fabulous job. I have received a lot of feedback from other folks as well that have different teachers than my daughter. Teachers are doing their best in the conditions that they're in. They are not trained for this. A lot of these teachers became teachers, as my wife did, to be able to sit in a classroom with students and teach them. So bear with them as they're learning this new environment. Things are getting better. Things are drastically better from day one till it was today. So just bear with them. Thank them, send them a note. They will appreciate that. Congratulations to the Old Bridge High School football team. Great win on Friday versus Monroe. And also this month, it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So as a father of 2 daughters, a husband, a son, please just make sure that everyone is aware of this disease. Get tested. And if you can, please go out to the various charities that support this initiative and donate if you can. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that it was nice when I pulled in the municipal complex tonight and see the lights on the courts and people, so many people out there active and trying to stay physically fit in this difficult time, and to know that people are using our facilities. I go around to the parks and really that's the benefit sadly from this pandemic, but I think they're using our resources that have always been there, and we enhance them so much. And in fact, tonight you'll see on our agenda that we're buying equipment for Veterans Park. So get out there, be physical. It's beautiful. The weather's really agreeing with us that we can spend more time out there. So during this difficult time, it is important to do things for yourself mentally and physically to get through this. And we'll all get through this together. And this will go in the history books as a very difficult, chaotic time. But stay focused and stay calm and be kind to your family, your neighbors, and to others in need. At this time, we find that there are people that are very much suffering. People say COVID, they're afraid of the virus, but you have to include also people that are, stressed, whether it's through loss of a job, mental illness, people that are dealing with disabilities, people that feel isolated. So reach out, and during this, I think what everyone should learn, no matter what, if we all bond together, and we can get through anything. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Merwin.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Murphy.
I just have a comment for Mary. The next time, I'm just recommending next time somebody calls up and they said they'll either speak at the end of the meeting or speak before the meeting, and this one was the first time I heard it, so I couldn't vote for it anyway. But I read the agenda last meeting in the beginning, but just skipped through it real quick. At the end of the meeting, there was a lot of good stuff on there that we never got to. A lot of it from the mayor too. I would like to just make sure we get that in before we bring somebody if we have a chance, put them at the end, so if somebody gets cut out,
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just tonight, given
No,
the
I understand, I
circumstances,
understand.
normally I would have said waited, but at this point, we were still in
I
a
agree
position.
with you. No.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Piscatty?
Yes, hi. I just want to encourage everybody to utilize the lockbox that we have in the courtyard here. Because, being a poll worker for many years, I know that provisional balloting has a risk. And, you have a risk of your vote not being counted because there's a lot of details that go into provisional balloting. A lot of rules, and if any of those rules are broke, your vote could possibly not be counted. So use that vote by mail and either bring it to 11 Kennedy Boulevard in East Brunswick. That's your best bet. Hand deliver that. This way nobody touches that ballot except you and the Board of Elections. That's your best bet for it to be counted. The second best way is to drop it at the box, like Councilman De Palma said. And then if you really can't, then mail. The risk with mail is that you got a lot of hands touching that ballot, and there's a risk. So please do vote. Every vote does count, and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes, thank you. I just want to congratulate Saywood South Little League's 13U team on another championship, and wish a speedy recovery to Chris B. He broke his leg making an incredible catch during the game. Hang in there, young man. I'm sure you're going to heal real quickly, and congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Ms. Walker?
Yes, I wanted to touch on the voting, too. I actually went to poll worker training course today, and a lot of the information that was read earlier was totally inaccurate. Please don't try to go to the polls and vote, because if you're not disabled, you will not be allowed to vote at the machine. There's signs going to be posted, and you're going to have to sign an affidavit stating that you are disabled, and you will not be able to vote otherwise. So the safest way would be to take your vote to the lockbox. There are long lines waiting at the, down in the East Brunswick, I understand, to hand the ballots in. And I feel that we could have voted in person. All the lines the long lines that people are waiting in to hand their ballots in, when I go to vote, I've never even waited in line. And I think it should be our choice that we want to go vote. The machine is much safer. I feel this year a lot of votes are not going to count. A lot of the provisional ballots, if they're not filled out perfectly, absentee ballots as well. So I think that was a right that was taken away from us, and not to mention the cost that's involved in all this. I actually received a letter from the county saying, your vote counted from the primary. I don't know how much money was sending everyone a letter telling them your vote counted. Well, if I went to vote in the machine, I know my vote counted. So it's silly all this is going on, all the extra money that's being wasted on this election. So just please remember to send your ballot in if you want to vote, and just double check before you send it in. And also I want to mention the pickleball net is up at the court here, and we're going to by next week have 2 pickleball only courts. The other net will arrive next week. One is already up, and we've had pretty big crowds there every night playing. So if you're a pickleball enthusiast, usually at 7 o'clock we meet, and there's a big crowd there. So come down.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker.
And President Sohor.
Yes, I'd just like to say last weekend was a coastal cleanup, and it really was super successful. There was a lot of council people in attendance and a lot of different groups, and I think each year it grows, and it's something that, people really do take pride in. So that was a very nice event. There was also clean teams last week, a lot going on, a lot of positive stuff going on, where we're trying to engage people and let them be outdoors and enjoy, and this is the way I think we're combating some some of the anxiety and tension. And then again, also as far as voting is concerned, I also attended that poll worker class, and it is an eye-opener. And I think it's going to be just a very, very different kind of election. And I think people have to really understand that you really are not going to be able to vote at those machines unless you do have a disability. So everyone, please fill out your ballot, bring it to the secure box, or bring it to Kennedy Boulevard. And everybody, please come out and vote. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Merwin.
Well, two things. One is, they put the basketball courts in down in Lawrence Harbor, and they were amazing, and the kids love them, and they're almost complete. I think we got a couple more lines to get painted, and then the fence has got to go up, and, oh, that's right, the backboards and rims got to get done. But they love it. They think it's the best court in town because it had the best, evidently the best base, and with the new plastic or rubber. The contractor that you use now is a lot better than the first one. So the kids really like it. And the other is, if I'm not mistaken, we had our census little things down on the beach. We had one in the parking lot up at the thing. I think it's the court order that it stays until October 31st.
I really don't know, Mr. Merwin.
You don't know.
Pay attention to the census.
But the census is very important to us, and, numbers count, and we've got to make sure that you count so that we get the proper representation, the proper money, and everything else. So if you haven't done the census, please do the census. It's very easy. Matter of fact, when the people would come up, I think it would take them about 2 minutes, and they had it done right online. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next will be report of the clerk.
I don't have a report tonight.
Okay, thank you. Next, report of the attorney.
Madam President, nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Next will be administrative report. Mr. Shah.
Thank you, Council President. I'm delighted to submit the administrative report of October 5th, 2020. Item number 1, the 2019 municipal tax sale was held on September 30th, 2020. 167 liens were sold to third-party lien holders. 166 liens were sold with premium, and 2 liens were struck off to the township. A total of $1,338,800 was collected for premium, and $325,112 was collected for taxes, interest, penalty, property cleanup charges, and OBMUA water and sewer charges. Item number 2, final drive-in movie will be Frozen 2 on Wednesday, October 7th. Space is limited, and residents may only reserve 1 car per family. To register, please visit the Department of Parks and Recreation at oldbridge.com. Item number 3, paint collection will be held on Saturday, October 10, 2020, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Township Recycling Center. Please, for additional information, please visit oldbridge.com. Item number 4, Mayor's Office of Economic Development, in partnership with Middlesex County Office of Career Opportunity, will be hosting a drive through job fair on Thursday, October 15th at the Grand Marquis located at 1550 US 9 South between the hours of 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Attendees should bring 1 copy of their resume to drop off, and they will receive a packet containing information from a variety of businesses and employment opportunities. Any businesses that is interested in having their company's information included in the packet should contact Barbara Hayward at 732-745-2814. Item number 5, the final brush cleanup, final brush collection pickup of the year will be on Monday, October 26. Bundle must be tied up and placed at the curb night before. Please contact Recycling Department by 2 p.m. on Friday to be on Monday's list. 732-721-5600, extension 6107, or recycling@oldbridge.com. Item number 6, fall leaf collections begins the week of October 26, 2020 in Ward 1, 2, 3, and 4. Collection in Ward 5 and 6 will begin the week of November 2nd. Leaves must be placed only in paper leaf bags. Plastic bags will not be picked up. For the full schedule, please visit oldbridge.com/recycling. Item number 7, Township Paper Shred event will be held on Friday, October 30th at the following location: Cheesequake Village from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., at Plaza Grand 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., and at the Township Recycling Center 12:30 to 3:30 p.m. For additional information, please visit oldbridge.com/recycling or call 732-721-5600, extension 6107. Item number 8, Old Bridge Township Small Business Assistance Program has appropriated $110,000 for the Small Business Assistance Program from Federal Community Development Block Grant CARES funds. The program is being established to provide working capital funds to the community small businesses that have been severely impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. As of today, Mayor Henry has notified 17 grant recipients that they have been awarded $5,000 each. Item number 9, intersection discussion on Disbrow Road is no longer in consideration. New Jersey DOT commitment to provide intersection improvement and improve traffic light circulation at Route 34, Morristown Road, and Amboy Road. Old Bridge Township has been pursuing traffic signal along Route 34 at the Morristown Road/Amboy Road intersection for over 40 years. The mayor, council president, and vice presidents, administration, and township professional recently attended a virtual meeting with NJDOT requesting that they construct a signal at this intersection. NJDOT has agreed and is currently working on design to install the traffic light at Amboy Road and Route 34 intersection. So I just want to emphasize that we had done survey on Disbrow Road, making it a dead end. That is not going to happen. That is now not necessary because NJDOT agreed on a traffic light. Item number 10, NJDOT Route 9 safety improvements will be implemented as a result of numerous meetings and correspondence by the mayor and township official. NJDOT has prepared a project need statements for safety improvements along Route 9 from Throckmorton Lane, Tristown Road to Poor Farm Road, Hartle Lane. We have been notified by NJDOT that this project has been accepted into the NJDOT design pipeline and has been advanced to the concept development phase. The purpose of this project is to mitigate median crossover and pedestrian crashes along this segment of Route 9. This project will provide for safer roadway for all users, including pedestrians, which will reduce fatality and serious injury. Item number 11, the Planning Department, in collaboration with fire bureaus and building department, is working to create new design standard to allow heating of the already approved temporary outdoor dining areas. The design guideline will focus on the safety of residents, patrons, and businesses while adhering to the applicable uniform building and fire codes. The design guideline will be published on the township website and will be circulated to businesses via email. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shaw. Is there any council person who has a question or a comment? Mrs. Walker.
Yes, I just want to thank you for bringing up about the light at Amboy Road and 34. As a lot of you know, Councilwoman Sawyer and myself have been working for many, many years trying to get a light there, and I actually think it's going to come to fruition now. I feel a little hopeful after the conversation, and Mayor Henry's been very involved, and he wrote a very nice letter to the DOT as well. And I just want the residents around Disbrow Road to know that we will keep you updated on it. If you have any questions, you can continue to email myself or Mary, and we'll keep you very involved.
Okay. Anyone else for a comment? Mr. De Palma.
Yep, so I also, Ms. Walker's comments as well, thank you for working. Only 40 years, so that's not that bad. But I think it's a great thing. Thank you for hearing the concerns, and finally, DOT is getting on the case, and thank you, Nicole, for taking Mr. Merwin and I around and showing us everything. And the one other thing, so I got actually asked a bunch of times over the past 3 weeks about the leaf pickup, and residents asking if it's possible if we could look into potentially purchasing one of those leaf vacuum trucks instead of putting things out in the bags. So if we can just look into that, I don't know what the costs or anything along those lines are, but if we can just, because I think people are, you go into other towns and they just line up all their leaves up on the curb and they don't have to worry about bagging it. So if we can just take a look into it and see what the cost potentially could be. And I think it would be an uptick for the residents if it's plausible.
Okay, anyone else for a comment? Anyone else? Everyone else is good? Okay, I'll just close this portion by saying this is one really terrific administrative report. There are so many good things in here. I mean, the businesses, the small businesses that we've supported throughout this entire time in their time of need. And I think the town has been a leader in this. We have really kept our eye focused on Old Bridge and made sure that any opportunity that was available here for our small businesses, we went and we got what they needed. This drive-through initiative for the businesses too, this job fair, this is something else, again, thinking out of the box, instead of just, saying, well, this year we might not be able to have this. I think we're really trying to help people find jobs in this time when a lot of people are looking for a job opportunity. So I think that was a tremendous thing to do for us. The DOT initiatives, and thank you, Nicole, again also, for all that you did with Disbrow Road and the DOT. Working with them is not an easy task. And you really are, you really do step up. And thank you, Mayor, for the letter you wrote. And as I said, I just think this report today was extremely positive for Old Bridge. Yes, Mayor Henry.
And I will say, Council, we've condensed it quite a bit. We've left quite a few items off this, so we're not here for hours, but there's many more good things happening around town. You mentioned the cleanups the last 2 weeks. We have the Stride and Ride coming through tomorrow. There's just so many good things happening. But we don't want to take up too much of the council meetings time.
Well, no, but it just so that the public realizes that the focus is here on Old Bridge, yes, and that any opportunity that's available for us to help the residents in any way.
We had a new business ribbon cutting on Saturday.
Right, oh, absolutely. Things are, I think people need to know that we're here for them in every way possible. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Council President will be including in a written report some of those additional items that Mayor mentioned.
Yes,
and it will be
please.
published on the website and then all around Old Bridge.
Yep, thank you very much. Okay, so I'll take a motion. Oh, move
I
it.
would like to say, in light of what President Sohar just said, the administrative report, we haven't stopped working. The administration hasn't stopped working. Our employees have not stopped working. They have not skipped a beat, and they are focused on making Old Bridge a positive place to live. And this just shows you can still get things done, and there is a lot of accomplishment. And when you think that the state government takes 40 years, how many people have come and go? That's an embarrassment. We know government works slow, but to take 40 years after administration, Democrat and Republican requested a light there. We live in the town. We know what it was needed for the safety of this town, and for it to go on this long. And thank goodness that Mary and Debbie stayed on it, and Nicole and this administration, and it's going to be quite a celebration when that gets done. So compliments, thank you so much for Mary and Debbie for pursuing that, and really, the thing was, everyone wanted done, but they didn't accept no for the answer, and that's what made the difference. They hounded the state. They embarrassed the state because they should be embarrassed by their fleckless behavior and not getting a light there when it's a dangerous intersection. Time and time again, how many accidents? So I feel very positive with the direction that this town continues to go in and all the good things that is done for really every segment of the population in this town, every ward. No one's excluded from it. So thank you once again, and I can't tell you how much, when I read this and when I got the letter from the mayor and when you gave me the update, how happy I am to see this come through. Thank you.
Yep, you're absolutely right. We are all Old Bridge proud of the town, the employees, and the administration and the mayor. Thank you very much for all you do for us. Okay, anyone else have any comments? Mr. Murphy?
Mr. Macho, going way back, I just didn't want to see your report anymore. I apologize for that now because there is a lot of stuff if you really read it. And I'm seeing three of you now with the two glasses here. And I want to thank all three of you for this report. This was one of your better ones. Thank you.
Thank you,
All right, thank you so much. I'll ask for a motion. Mr. Murphy moved it. Second, Dr. Greenberg Belli. Do you ever think you'd become this popular, Hamachu?
That's it, though.
Not popular with everybody.
Just this meeting.
Okay.
Township attorney has a real problem now.
All right, so you'll call the roll call,
Yeah.
please?
Ms. Brown is absent. Mr. DePalma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohor?
Yes.
We have 8 ayes, President.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Shaw. Okay, next will be our consent agenda, and what we'll do is I'll take a motion in a second, and then I'll ask to bring it out to the public if anyone has any questions, and then after that, I'll ask for separations from council members.
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Rizzoli. Now would be the time in the public, if anyone has any questions on our consent agenda items for this evening, to call in and give us your comments. Thank you.
The information on how to raise your hand is again present on the Zoom and through our broadcast. Once you've called in, you can press *9 from your phone, Option or Alt-Y from your Mac or PC, or choose the raise hand option on your app. We do have someone who is already raising their hands.
Okay, great. Very good. And this is on the consent agenda items only at this point.
The user I've identified is under iPad guest. I'm asking you to unmute. They've lowered their hand.
Okay. We'll give it a little while. Anyone in the public wish to comment? Now's the time on the consent agenda, please.
There's no one else listed.
Okay, seeing no hands, then I'll close the public portion and now ask for separations from council.
Ms. Brown is absent. Mr. DePalma?
C6 and C11.
Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Number 2.
C2. Mr. Merwin? No. Mr. Murphy?
Nothing.
Mr. Pescetti?
No.
Mr. Rizzoli?
C15.
Ms. Walker?
None.
President Sohor?
None. So now, let's vote on that. We took a motion and a second, so we'll vote on the balance.
Ms. Brown is absent. Mr. DePalma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohor?
Yes.
We have 8 ayes, President.
Okay, next will be 2, Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes, I just want to reiterate, it was in our administrative report, but tonight we're awarding $5,000 to multiple businesses in town, and that I hope that it helps them in this dire time. I know when the business is open, they've spent a lot of money on PPE, and it's really terrible that a lot of these businesses were devastated, so any way that we can help, I'm glad that, the administration this is on the forefront and has helped them. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. Mackis. I know you've done a lot as well, going around to the businesses and helping them, fill out their forms and giving them information and so on. So it's very appreciated. Everyone in the administration has reached out to these businesses. It's so positive. Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll move it.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Walker, second by Mr. De Palma.
Ms. Brown is absent. Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg-Belli?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Biscotti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohor?
Yes.
President, we have 8 ayes.
Okay, next will be C6, Mr. De Palma.
Yeah, I just wanted to separate this just to make sure that the public understood and heard about the investment in the community that the administration is making. In this case, it's Veterans Park and putting new equipment there. I think it's great the fact that we are looking at what needs to get done, adding new playthings for our children in our community. I think it's an excellent thing. So, Himanshu, Mayor, Matt, thank you guys very much.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, did you make a motion, Mr. De Palma?
I'll move it.
Okay, second by Dr. Greenberg-Belli.
Ms. Brown is absent. Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg-Belli?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscatty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohor?
Yes.
President, we have 8 ayes.
Next will be C11, Mr. De Palma.
I just wanted to make sure, again, aware that the community understands that we are looking at the best interests of our business community, especially when it comes to the outdoor dining. I know it's not ideal that we cannot sit in a restaurant. It's only 25%, and I've been to some restaurants where that is literally 2 tables in a 1,000 square foot restaurant. It's actually a little bit ridiculous. But I do want to make sure that everyone understands that we are looking in the best interest of our restaurants, specifically in this portion, and extending the outdoor dining, to include the rest of this year. I think it's a great thing that we do. Obviously, it's not going to be ideal once those temperatures hit in the 40s and 50s, but I do think it's important that we still get out there and we frequent these restaurants. I encourage folks to get out there. I've been to a bunch of restaurants just recently, and I think it's not the same, but it's still, we're supporting these small businesses. The pizzerias and all the restaurants that support our PTAs and support our little leagues and our football teams and our soccer leagues. It's important that we now come together and we support them. I know we've been saying that the entire time, but now the lockdown that is still in place for certain businesses is going to affect them even more. It's one thing to be in the summer and in the early fall to be outside, but now that we get into the colder nights, it is important that we still try to support them the best that we can. I would urge that anyone who can get out, please get out. Do it safely, social distance, do all of that. But at the same time, support these businesses because they do support our community all the time. There are pizzerias and restaurants that never blink an eye and never once will say no to anybody. Let's make sure that we're out there supporting them.
Mr. Murphy, you wanted to comment as well? Wait, yeah, so we can hear you, John, please. All right, thank
What
you.
was number 6 that he spoke on?
Okay, he spoke about, it was the authorizing of the purchase of playground equipment for
Okay, see-
Veterans Park from Play Power. It's C6. Did you see it on the pink agenda? You should see it on that.
Okay. Okay. Did we skip over something? Did we skip over this, or do we have to come back to this?
No,
When the meeting, public can speak and stuff?
no, they spoke.
Huh?
Originally, the public spoke.
So we're gonna still have 5 minutes and 2 meetings?
Joe. Yeah, it's coming next.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Number 6 was the playground equipment in Veterans Park. Okay, so that yeah, okay? All right. So we need a motion now for C11.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Rizzoli, second by Mrs. Walker.
Ms. Brown is absent. Mr. DePalma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscatty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
President Zohor?
Yes, definitely. Okay.
Madam President, just
Yes.
before the next one, just for the record, C13, which was on consent, and you already voted on, I just want to note for the record that there's actually the resolution and agreement that was in Novus was not the correct one. I had sent the revisions on Friday, and apparently the email was not received. So there weren't substantive changes, more stylistic, and me being anal, with periods and stuff like that. So it's adopted as amended.
Thank you very much. Okay, so C15 was separated by Mr. Rizzoli.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to clarify, because I know there was a couple of callers. This was put on because of all the complaints by residents, not just from Old Bridge, around the state. I think the residents wanted us to speak up for them. This is the best, unfortunately, this is the best we can do. We can't change it back to in-person voting. So just to clarify, this did start out as an executive order. When the governor realized he wouldn't survive federal court, it was made into legislation. In that piece of legislation, early vote counting was also added. So we have mail-in ballots were used in the 2020 primary election for all registered voters, which did cause a concern for voter fraud, voter disenfranchisement, postal delivery delays, significant increase in election cost, and reliance on a flawed voter DMV database, which resulted in significant delays in the counting of said ballots. Voter fraud did occur in Patterson in July of 2020, where a Superior Court judge did rule that a new election was required as a result of an investigation performed by the U.S. Postal Service, which found hundreds of mail-in ballots in a Patterson mailbox. 800 ballots were discounted by the Passaic County Board of Elections. Another 2,300 ballots were rendered ineligible, thereby disqualifying 3,100 ballots. In Sussex County, election officials found approximately 1,600 primary ballots stuffed into a bin and uncounted for months after July 2020 primary. And I just want to thank the residents of Sussex County for actually bringing this forward. Both incidents made national news. National news. And I'd like to remind Governor Murphy, you don't take an oath to office or to a party, excuse me, you don't take oath to a party. You take oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. But yet Governor Murphy continues to make a mockery of our electoral process under the guise of the coronavirus, while failing to provide any scientific evidence that substantiates his radical executive orders and legislation that's supported by members of the New Jersey Assembly and Senate. Clearly, an individual who applies common sense to this matter will realize it's unacceptable that a voter registration kiosk can be put in a hospital during a pandemic, but yet we can't vote in person and we mandate a vote-by-mail election. Radical Governor Phil Murphy continues to devalue citizenship while incentivizing illegal immigration. I denounce Governor Murphy's tactics being used to undermine this general election in the state of New Jersey. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes, I would like to add to that, because this is a bipartisan problem. If you look at Insider New Jersey, 2 Democrat council members, one is council president from Perth Amboy, Joe Pabone and Bill Patrick, also are in opposition to this mandate for vote by mail. First of all, the way that it's done is wrong. And if you think with any common sense, think about it. You can go to the DMV and stand there for hours in line, and that's okay. You can go to Costco, you can go to Walmart, you can go to Lowe's, you can go to Home Depot, Acme, ShopRite, wherever you want to go as far as that's concerned, but you can't go and vote. So the government is intruding on your freedoms and your right to vote. Yes, they'll say, oh, you have a right to vote, you can vote by mail. But this isn't done properly. If you want to vote by mail, you should request it. This is where they would have a paper trail. I've been called by residents that actually, I'll tell you, 6 of them that said they've gotten ballots from their loved ones that are deceased, going back 18 years. 18 years. That is just wrong. Then I got notification from people that got more than 1 ballot. I also got notification from someone that was married and then got a ballot in their maiden name and their married name. So if you don't think there's going to be malfeasance in this, really, I'd hate to say you don't have a brain. Because really, and I don't like to be that direct, but this is just utterly wrong. As I said before, in the primary, when I went there, Democrats and Republicans were upset. There is more chance of contact when you do a provisional ballot. And think about it, how absurd. They have machines for the disabled. These are the people that should be staying at home and requesting a ballot. But yet you can go vote at the machine. Then the other absurdity with this mandate is that we spend a fortune on new voting machines that are not even going to be used. So when you went there, you got your receipt that you voted. Usually when I go vote anyway, you sign in, you get a number. I always you can look at the machine and see that your number was counted. This is just so wrong on every level. I don't understand this governor. He must go to bed at night and say, how can I hurt the residents? What can I do to hurt the residents of New Jersey? He comes up, oh, let's increase the tolls on the roads during the pandemic. That's a great idea. Let's increase the gas tax. That's another great idea. Let's increase a tax on health insurance. That's another wonderful idea. And let's double the amount of money that we give to people that aren't citizens. Oh, he's wonderful. He's genius. If you think of this is so wrong on so many levels. And as I said before, they never told us how much it cost during the primary, and then you don't know the results of the election for a month later. This is a presidential election. Whether you like this president or not, you should take your vote seriously and you should take the president seriously, because we are now fighting for America. When they come ahead and take your liberty away to vote at a machine, that's the first thing. Someone wrote in their letter tonight, oh, they did paper ballots back in the 1700s. Oh, that was a great and genius comment. They didn't have computers then, okay? So right now, this is so wrong on so many levels, and I'm standing here telling you about the malfeasance in just a few sentences by all the double ballots that went out. These people are honest. They will throw them out. Do you think the other people will throw them out when they get it? I'm not so sure. But this is just wrong, and this is just the beginning, because Mr. Murphy has another year. A lot can be done. You already see the damage. Look at the taxes in the state. Look how he handles any problem. Even with our Board of Ed, locally, we've felt it. He took away millions of dollars from us, waited till the budget was done, then took the money away. No advise notice. Listen, you better do your budget a little different this year because I'm taking millions away. No. Then we have people that are on the Board of Ed that happen to be county committee meetings and go and applaud the governor, go to like his little rallies and everything. This is just so wrong what this governor has done to this state, that you have a right to vote. Please let your voice be heard. Everyone, wherever we go. And it's, as I said, this is bipartisan. Democrat and Republican feel they can go to a booth. You're there, shorter amount of time, go in, swab. They can swab the booth with a disinfectant, vote, and leave. And in fact, I think they're laser now. You just point at it and it goes. So, good luck.
It's excellent.
Anyone else for?
I was going to say a few other things, but Anita pretty much touched on everything. The one thing I didn't know if she touched on is that money he took from all the school budgets. He now had 16 million, and any illegal land have to be in a legal land. He's very specific about that. Can go to any state college they want for free. So what she said, everything was accurate. And if she would just come and say this and I didn't know about it, I would think it's a joke. I mean, what he has done to the state is just unbelievable, and I'd like to thank you, Anita, for bringing all that up.
Oh, but I did forget one other thing. He took away the homestead rebate for seniors and didn't tell them that was happening. We were the first town that put up a resolution opposing that, and then he rethought it, but he didn't give the money back from the tax quarter before.
Okay, anyone else? Mrs. Walker?
Yes, once again about the election. I'm just concerned about the cost. Supposedly our state is broke. We had to raise the tax on the gas and multiple tax increases, the tolls and all that, but yet we have money to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on an election, which I think is totally unnecessary, because I think that waiting in DMV line or Walmart is much more unsafe than going to vote. And it's a liberty he's taken away from us. And it seems like we're just falling in line with it and nobody's protesting. It's a very scary thing what's going to happen next. So I think people should fight back.
Okay. Anyone else?
Oh, I'll just add, and don't forget the billions of dollars that he just borrowed. How does he think he's going to pay that back? What kind of interest is that? He just buried us in the state.
Okay, anyone else?
Move it.
Okay, moved by Mr. Rizzoli, second by Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Ms. Brown is absent. Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscatty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohor?
Yes.
President, we have 8 ayes.
Okay, thank you very much. Next will be ordinance for first reading, FR1, an ordinance of the Township of Old Bridge, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, amending the Code of the Township of Old Bridge, Chapter 5, Article 3, entitled Council, Section 5-21, entitled Order of Business Agenda. Do I have a motion for it? Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Okay. Ms. Brown is absent. Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
No.
Mr. Murphy?
Abstain.
Mr. Piscatty?
No.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohor?
Yes.
President, you have 5 ayes, 2 noes, and 1 abstention.
Okay, thank you. Next will be public comments on any subject matter. Now would be the time if anyone in the public wishes to be heard, it's time to call in now. You can look up at your screen and see the instructions.
Once you're in Zoom, you can press *9 from your phone to raise your hand, Option Y or Alt Y from your Mac or PC, or choose the raise hand option on your computer app. We have someone in line. I'm asking you to unmute iPad guest.
Okay, so we'll wait now.
They're unmuted. Please identify yourself.
Hi, my name's Nina Joknowitz. You know where I live. I don't have to say it over and over again.
No, actually, you do, Nina. It's Mr. Roselli. It's a different meeting, and every meeting's different. So if you could give your address.
I live on West Greystone Road.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm here tonight to speak about the enduring COVID-19 crisis, from which now the President of our United States and at least 15 people directly associated with him have tested positive for COVID-19, with many showing symptoms. I hope now the council does act more responsibly and wear face masks and eye protection when indoors, and as well maintain 6 feet apart from other people. I know many people do not feel they should be required to wear masks within an indoor facility, but it has been well documented scientifically to save lives. Just like seatbelts save lives and car baby carriers. I hope the council stops acting as though COVID is not real, not dangerous, and not deadly. Besides Donald Trump being in the hospital, so is the former governor, Chris Christie. And to highlight a few of the more than 210,000 people who have died in the last 9 months, I'll read the several names from which I'm sure the council and the mayor will recall. Herman Cain, Anne Glenn, the wife of the astronaut John Glenn, our American treasure. Ellis Marsalis, a New Jersey native and musical prodigy. Kevin Duffy, the judge who presided over the 1993 World Trade Center bombings, from which we've already lost over 16,000 people between the military and the attacks. I asked the council how many more people need to die or become permanently incapacitated before we start behaving like adults and enacting and directly observing CDC recommended guidelines and protocols. It is time for the council and the mayor to start behaving like adults and wearing masks. Councilwoman Anita Greenberg, thank you for your drop-off veterinary service. You protect your customers and your colleagues. I applaud you on that. This is great that your establishment does this. But then you sit on the dais and you complain about Murphy's enacted CDC rules. Why do you want to expose your staff and customers to undue harm? Mark Rizzoli, why do you continue to run around town complaining without a mask, endangering the community, your family, and yourself? You're now retired, as you noted in the last meeting. And obviously you fall into what is called a high-risk group, mortality group, if you contract COVID. So why do you play the dice on other people's lives and even your own? Finally, also, I can guarantee that we could identify a plethora of comorbidities for each person who sits in the council meeting tonight between the mayor, the councilman, and all the staff. That include coronary heart disease, diabetes, obesity, renal insufficiency, COPD, asthma, rheumatoid arthritis, and cancer. Therefore, please, please, please stop playing with other people's lives and step into your big person boots and start behaving responsibly. Finally, Councilwoman Mark Rizzoli, you really need to correct your bios, because were you really downtown on the morning of 9/11, which it says in your bios? Did you really assist with countless wounded victims on the date of the 9/11 attack? I highly doubt it. Or else, like hundreds of the firemen and policemen who have died on the day of attack or as a result of the exposure from the toxins, or now mesothelioma, you are alive and well and not suffering from any of the 9/11 conditions known to affect nearly 100% of the people who were on that site that day. By the way, Mark Rizzoli and everybody else in council, you can vote in person. It's a paper ballot. A paper ballot, just like we used for centuries in the United States. It was good then, it's good now. Thank you, and everybody stay safe.
Anyone else in the public wish to be heard?
There are no other raised hands in a Zoom meeting.
Seeing that there are no other hands, then we will now close the public comment portion. Next will be discussion, D1, request seeking waiver of application fee and escrow fee for an amended final site plan application entitled Oak Tree Plaza at Old Bridge, LLC, with the Zoning Board of Adjustments.
So I'll take the lead on this, and Vina, you may have to help out. So this is the item which Mr. Goin had called earlier about, and if as part of the backup, you'll see that there was the initial letter sent back in August, and then a follow-up letter where the request was made to council, basically based upon the recommendation of Larry Sachs, who's the zoning board attorney, relative to seeking relief for the payment of the escrow and application fee. In response, and I spoke to Vina about this, Vina Swan, our planner, also prepared a memorandum highlighting the background and the two letters and what the request was. Couple things. Presently, our ordinance provides two instances in which waivers can be granted. And if you look at Ms. Swan's memo, indicates that where council can waive fees is for any nonprofit, first aid squad, or fire company hold tax exempt status and the Internal Revenue Code, or upon application of an organization confirming tax exempt status showing that it's a first aid squad or a fire company operating exclusively or primarily within the boundary of Township of Old Bridge, and the action will directly benefit the residents of Old Bridge. And then the other instance in which fees can be waived would be when any governmental or quasi-governmental entity which operates within Old Bridge makes such a similar request. So presently, there is no authority under the Township Code to grant the request. I had indicated in an email earlier today to Mr. Gwynn about that fact. He had indicated, is there anything else that could be done? At this point with this request, there isn't, because you don't have the authority under the ordinance to do it. And I would note, while he made the point that there was a condition that was included in the zoning board resolution, obviously there's an application, there's hearing, there's testimony, and none of you sit on the zoning board. So you don't have the flavor as to why that condition was instituted. Obviously, it was a condition that was significant enough to be spelled out and included in the resolution of approval. So it was very substantive for them. And I know initially the applicant had indicated whether or not this could be something be done administratively. And while I'm not the zoning board attorney, I have represented boards in the past, and clearly there's really actually no provision under municipal land use law for those types of administrative, quote-unquote, administrative changes. But again, it's a condition that was agreed upon by the applicant. The zoning board wanted to ensure it was in there, and even if there were, it wouldn't be something that would be appropriate to do, something to be done by the director of community development or the planner. So again, they have to file basically an amended application to see if the zoning board would be willing to strike that condition, and based upon, I think, more than just it's COVID. I think, there's issues out there involving approvals, and we've had situations in the township previously where there was phasing schedules involved, and applicants have come back and said, can you amend the phasing schedule? We'll do the work. Usually the phasing schedules, they want to hold back on the commercial to build the residential, and then sometimes the commercial never gets built. And so it's a real concern. And while I understand the request, that's something that would have to be developed as part of the request for the amendment of the approval. But short of that, it is going to be an application that will have to be filed. There will be costs incurred by the township. There is no provision in the code either for the filing of an amended application and reduced fees. So again, there's nothing there for you to do it at this particular point. The only thing you could potentially do, and it's something that you can consider, is amending the ordinance to allow for a reduced fee for the filing of an amended application and a reduced fee for escrows if someone files an amendment or an amended application. But presently, based upon the ordinance, there's no requirement or provision for a public hearing. There's also no provision in the code that allows for this council to act on this waiver, because the incidences in which it can be granted are spelled out and as I articulated.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have a question for Mr. Pischetti?
Yeah, so the applicant is actually asking, they're seeking a waiver of the application fee and a waiver of the escrow fee.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay, so I understand, COVID and all, And I understand that he may not want to build the commercial portion first because of what's going on with COVID. I understand that, but it doesn't make sense to me that we would just waive a fee. First of all, we don't even have the authority to waive that fee because it's by ordinance, right?
Right.
We'd have to actually change the ordinance to waive the fee,
Correct.
right? So,
And the reason why I say that, Mr. Biscotti, is that the ordinance has provision for waiver, right? So again.
but he doesn't meet any of those
Right, so
provisions.
presumably, when a body acts, presumably when they adopt an ordinance or a law, they're presumed to put in that law the things that they want, right? So it's not like you can read into it something that's not there. And that would require an amendment to the ordinance to allow, in this particular instance, what they're requesting.
Right. So what I don't understand, look, I understand the financial difficulty it is for them, but they went to the zoning board and they redid their plan to build the residential first, right? Now they're looking to do it for nothing, right? No fees.
They're requesting so that they can file the application for the amended approval without having to file an application fee or the escrows. That's correct.
But we don't have the authority to waive that fee, so why is it before this council?
Well, and the reason why is that, again, there's a letter, he'd submitted it. It's up to council to determine whether or not they want to entertain it.
We'd be entertaining changing the ordinance.
Correct, without authority. So I think it's like any resident or someone who's dealing with the township, they make a request, whether or not you put it on the agenda is something for council to decide, and whether or not to entertain it is something for council to decide. So that's why it's on the agenda.
So the applicant doesn't have, I don't understand why the applicant didn't ask to delay the fee, because he's not going to be building the commercial portion of his project, instead of just waiving it and getting it for nothing.
Well, there's no provision for the delay in the submission of the fee either. There is no provision in it.
Okay, so your recommendation is
Well, my
legal?
what I'm saying is, from a legal perspective, while the request has been submitted, there's no legal basis upon which this board can grant that request.
Okay, thank you very much, appreciate that.
Mr. Pescetti, you through?
Yes.
Anyone else from council? Mr. Merwin?
I just want to make a motion that we deny this based upon the interpretation by legal.
Okay.
Well, I would say this, I don't know that even, Mr. Merwin, that you even have to take a vote. I think that the point is that you don't have the authority to grant it, and it's on as a discussion item, basically as an accommodation to the applicant, right? Obviously, there are attorneys listening, but this board, based upon its ordinance, does not have the authority to grant the waiver. So it's not something that you're obligated to take an action on, nor are you legally legally able to take a vote on, because there's no provision in the code that allows for it.
I withdraw my motion.
Thank you.
Okay.
So again, it's a matter of discussion.
Right.
Something to think about maybe in the future based upon discussions with Nicole and Vina, whether or not the council wants to entertain having, include a reduced escrow and application fee for an amendment. But even then, the difficult part is you never know what the amendment is, right? Somebody can file an amended site plan and come in with a whole new site plan, right? And you're starting at ground zero, because someone can choose to do different things. You can come in with a new site plan or amended. So that's even hard to gauge, because you never know what the amendment's going to entail, right? But again, I think if the condition, the zoning board included as a condition, it had to be significant, and usually phasing schedules are significant, because you weigh that, and I recognize, the developers want to get the residential in, but I think the zoning board and planning boards as well know that there's a balance that has to be considered. So, this board doesn't, council doesn't have to take any action at all. We had the discussion, and again, based upon the fact that there's no authority in the township code to grant the waiver.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Roselli, for all the information. And as he said, we were just, entertaining the applicant. I'm glad that there's clarification so everyone knows the reasoning behind what's going on. So thank you for all your information.
You're welcome.
So the gentleman has left the meeting now, the attorney? Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm finished.
Thank you very much. Next will be council member comments.
Ms. Brown is absent, so Mr. De Palma.
Nothing.
Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes, I would like to add something. I know that it was mentioned tonight about the census. And so when I think that we're having posts throughout town, and I'm sure other communities, I don't know who came up with this idea, that to imagine that you're having an ice cream truck, giving coffee out, having music to tell people to fill out a census form. What has become to this society? Are we all this totally irresponsible? First of all, I know in the spring when it came, it was during the total shutdown. So you get your mail, you're in the house. How long does it take? Fill it out. Walk out to your post office. You don't have to see anyone. You don't have to be in contact with anyone. But how irresponsible? How juvenile? What in our right minds is this society coming to that we have to have an event when we have televised ads telling you to do it. It comes to your house. On top of it, when you talk about government waste of money, no wonder we don't have money for the real things that need to get done or to help the poor. Because I filled it out right away, and you know what? I still had people come to my house, not once, but twice, and tell them I filled it out. I called them total filled out. But to know that we're having gala events to fill out a census form, we're a laughing stock. Do we understand what's happened to this country? If you said to this in another country, this is really a problem, and people really need to pay attention. And honestly, if you did not fill out the census, maybe you shouldn't be counted at this point. Because really, if you don't have enough self-respect or respect for when it says, to send it out, the reasoning for it, really, I can say there's problems with the census, and I can go into them. There's multiple things with the census and the way money's allocated and the way people are counted. But how juvenile. You get it sent to your house, not once, not twice, 3 times, and you cannot take the 5 minutes or less to fill it out. You can even do it online. What is happening here? So really, when I hear that we're spending money for the government on ice cream trucks and coffee, and then the ambulance comes bringing out stereo equipment, what is going on here? Please, stop this insanity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes. Yeah, I guess Councilwoman Greenberg Belli did not like your census idea. I know she thought
It's important for the town that we get counted.
I know she thought I did it, but, yeah.
I think it's the federal government and the state government, and I think it's terrible.
And I think we need to get the right numbers, and so I was there to assist, and I was glad I did. We got 28 that we didn't have, and a couple more the next time. So, and again, we have until the end of the month, so those that haven't done it, please, fill it out. Tonight we passed for first reading an ordinance that is going to take the public's right to speak for the second time in this council chambers. So all those that don't agree with that, you better make sure that you're here for the next meeting and let it be known, or you're going to lose one of your public comment sections. So, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Merwin.
Mr. Murphy?
Nothing.
Mr. Piscatty?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes, thank you. You know, we talk about the public speaking portion, but every meeting, Old Bridge Democratic County Committee woman Nina Joshua calls into this meeting slandering myself, other members of this council, and then it continues on social media, whether it's about me or my family, and she calls here self-righteous. Let me just read back what she posted about Stella Ward the night she announced her retirement. Good riddance, Stella. She screwed up 2 elections. She failed to get back to the county in a timely manner during redistricting 18 months back. Basically, we are better off with no one than the work, lack thereof, she completed. Really nice. Another post on social media after someone supporting me, calling me a terrorist. Anyone who's not from my race will be affected. So I really hope she can have evidence to substantiate all these false claims, whether it's about me or one of the councilwomen, because it's never ending. It's never ending, and it's all about politics. And when she comes knocking on the door with a candidate, one of the residents, ask her, show some evidence, substantiate your false claims, because it's continuing slander. The same Elbridge Democratic County Committee woman was involved with a group of individuals who absolutely slandered and tore a family apart, who came to this town just to open a business, okay? Like all policies, they evolve. Right now in this country, there is a movement going on to obstruct governmental functions, whether it's council meetings or any other forms of meetings. And we see it every meeting. She's one of the ringleaders of that, okay? Not calling about anything about the town. Same woman who wants needle exchanges in Old Bridge. Same woman who said that I was violating a home lockdown order because I was out promoting businesses, trying to save them and help them survive during this COVID-19. There was no such order in place. And how does she know how to wear my mask? Any business owner in this town will tell you when I go in, I always wear my mask. It's just nonstop slander because she has nothing else to run on. So I suggest to Nina Joslowitz, run for office. Let's see if the residents agree with what you have to say. Because I can tell you what, you were in and out of this room while that poor family was slandered. And then it went back to the social media. And like all policies, they need to be tweaked so that never happens again. Okay, I laugh at the left. The left always has a lot to say, but the reality is, if it doesn't fit their narrative, they don't like it. They played our system. The system was manipulated. If you go back on video, you heard these paid activists threaten to continuously come back and disrupt our meetings. And the reason why it stopped because COVID happened. Okay? What happened to that family was disgusting. And I'm proud of the fact that this council's taken action to prevent that. It has nothing to do with preventing people's freedom of speech. Most council meetings throughout this state only has one speaking portion, and no one's taking away anyone's opportunity to speak. Okay, let's deal with fact, not fiction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rizzoli.
Ms. Walker?
Nothing.
President Sohor?
Nothing either, thank you very much. Okay, next I'll take a motion to adjourn. Moved by Dr. Greenberg-Belloy. Oh, I'm sorry, my mic went off. It was, okay, Dr. Greenberg-Belloy, Mr. Rizzoli.
Roll call. Mr. De Palma? Yes. Dr. Greenberg-Belloy?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscatty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohor?
Yes, thank you very much.